there's a lot to be said on why this video is being made, what the purpose of it is, but what the natural conclusion of the video will be. But out the gate, I want to make it a bit personal and say I loved seeing Swerve Strickland become AEW champion. And I will say a big part of that has to do with him being the first African American champion in AEW, AEW champion specifically. And this all started at AEW Dynasty when he fought Samoa Joe, and they wrestled a really good match. No, nothing like a classic or anything, but wrestled a pretty good match. And he beat Samoa Joe for the AEW championship. And from there, immediately, we have problems. We have major problems. Because what followed was Swerve Strickland coming out on AEW Dynamite and not cutting an important promo discussing him winning the championship, how much it meant to him. No, he came out to fight Kyle Fletcher, of all people, for the AEW championship. That did nothing in terms of presenting Swerve Strickland as an important milestone champion. Very insulting and was very diminishing, if anything. But that's not really the worst of things, but it was a hard thing to fix. Presentation matters. It matters a lot. So with Swerve Strickland coming out and fighting Kyle Fletcher, who for no reason just seemed to have a world championship shot, just comes along and, fights a random match and cuts no promo. Tony Khan tries to fix it by having Swerve cut the promo and celebrate on Collision, which was everyone noticed how messy that entire situation was. But this was a plethora of times that this happened, where Swerve just fought somebody to compete for his championship, and it's like, not everyone needs to be I'll fight everyone every single week, or fight a person whenever, or just any person at all for the AEW championship. I mean, you don't have to just fight every single week. It's diminishing. And more so, this happened for quite a bit during Swerve's championship run, but it's okay. We're going to focus on piece by piece, because after the Kyle Fletcher thing, he cuts the promo on Collision, and then from Collision, he gets into a feud with Christian. And I will admit, this feud, pretty good stuff. The feud was kicked off from a comment he made in regards to the Elite, who at the time pretty much put Tony Khan out of out of ability to be on TV, I guess. I don't know. The story didn't go anywhere because Tony Khan was, beat up by the Elite, and then he left television and was going to be out for a while, but then he appeared on TV again off of AEW, selling the injury, but seemingly being okay, and was on and off with his power within AEW. I don't want to get into that storyline. That thing is terrible. But the Christian feud was birthed from some comments he made to the Elite, and the Elite made it to where Christian could, battle Swerve Strickland for the AEW championship. They have a good feud. Christian makes some comments in regards to Swerve and his family, and it was just overall a pretty decent feud. Honestly, it genuinely was. Unfortunately, however, when the feud was finished, or I should say, when they fought at the next pay-per-view, I can't remember the pay-per-view. I think it was Double or Nothing. Nothing happened, really. I think he fought some of the family of Christian Cage, but it didn't go anywhere. I think he fought Nick Wayne and Luchasaurus again or something like that, but it didn't lead into like another pay-per-view match with Christian and Swerve. No, instead, Swerve had to face something much worse, which is the conversation of him being a transitional champion. And again, things just kind of snowball into more and more insulting territory of Tony Khan making him champion, but not really caring for him being champion. And he suffered this because, honestly, the way Tony Khan was booking Will Ospreay was rushing him to be at the very top of the company. And this became even worse and even more apparent and more disgusting when Will Ospreay, for no reason at all, has the international championship and competes in a match where they are competing to fight Swerve Strickland for the AEW championship. This happened for no reason at all, honestly. It didn't make sense for Will Ospreay to be there. He already had a championship. He didn't need to be in that match. I believe it was a gauntlet match. And it just derailed what Swerve Strickland could do as a champion. And it hurt his rep because people already felt that he was just a transitional champion for Will Ospreay. So Will Ospreay wins the gauntlet match, which was, I don't want to get too deep into that whole thing ordeal, but they fight at Forbidden Door. And I will say, Swerve Strickland probably had his best match ever. Aside from the Hangman series, he probably had his best match ever with Will Ospreay at Forbidden Door. That match to me is a perfect match. Perfect. It's a masterpiece. I love that match. I genuinely do. That match is unbelievable. And you know, that's one of the few highlights, like with the small Christian feud. It's one of those highlights in his reign. Not super bright, not super amazing, like that over, you know, that over outshines the bad in his reign, but it's one of those glowing moments where it's like, oh wow, like this is really nice. And you know, he beats Will Ospreay, and it was like, oh wow, so you know, they didn't choose to put on Will Ospreay. That's good. Swerve Strickland deserved to hold that championship for longer. But I think I can say we all could agree that we wanted Swerve to retain so he could have a defining storyline as being champion, like MJF, but he did not. And I just, I'm trying to restrain the rant part until later on. But he beats Will Ospreay, and we hoped that maybe he could move on to something genuinely great for his reign, a good story. For a while, he fumbled after the Will Ospreay match. And also reports came out. Hold on, let's backtrack a little bit. Reports came out that Will Ospreay talked to Tony Khan and the creative team about not really wanting or needing the AEW championship. And that to me is, I don't know if they plan to have Will Ospreay win that match before Will Ospreay spoke up about it, but we don't trust. I won't speak for everybody, but I think a lot of people, including me, do not trust Tony Khan. And I do believe that they wanted to crown Will Ospreay as AEW champion, and I just find that to be disgusting. And if Will Ospreay was the sole factor behind them choosing not to put the championship on Will Ospreay and take it off Swerve, I find that disgusting. Utterly disgusting and disrespectful. But I don't want to jump out the window and go full rant mode yet. Let's proceed to the next thing, which was he fumbled around for a while. And then we got this whole conversation in tournament for the Owen Hart Cup and who would go on to face Swerve at All In. And not gonna lie, this is where I just lost it. There's a video, I already kind of talked about it, how I hate or ended up hating AEW. But then I'm just gonna fast forward to Bryan Danielson. This is where the rant is kind of gonna start. Straight up, I hate everything that Danielson versus Strickland represents, and I hate everything that it brought to the table. I do. It was beyond disrespectful to Swerve Strickland. It was beyond disrespectful to Hangman Adam Page, and honestly, to me, it was also kind of disrespectful to put Bryan in the position to have to take the AEW championship away from Swerve Strickland the way that they did. This match could have happened at All Out. It could have. For those saying that it needed to happen at Wembley, I just think you're cope, and I think you're stupid. I think you're stupid. Because building the future should matter more than just having instant gratification or instant dopamine moments like Danielson winning at All In. Like, that to me is it just rubs me the wrong way, because this was not a conversation. The conversation wasn't, this is long-term story. This isn't Cody Rhodes winning the undisputed championship. But this is how it's painted. It's painted like Bryan Danielson had this extremely long-term story, finishing the story, and he's presented as if like he's Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania 40. This was disgusting, the entire thing. But to be fair, I'm not saying the match is bad, but from the very concept, it was bad to me. From the very concept, because it hurt Hangman, who's been losing nonstop. He just, for no reason did he need to lose to Bryan Danielson. He just didn't. This match could have happened at All Out. It really could have. But Hangman should have been the ongoing story for Swerve. So let me lay it out, because some people seem to be a little confused to why it mattered or why it could have been, mainly just the AEW fanboys. But honestly, it was very simple. Hangman always believed that Swerve did not deserve to be champion because, one, he felt he was a scumbag, and two, he did not believe Swerve could beat him without any help. Prince Nana, the Mogul Embassy, he did not believe Swerve could not beat him without help. He never believed he was worthy of being AEW champion. They always had beef, and having a match at All In could have been a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful bookend for their, honestly, one of AEW's best rivalries and feuds. It would have been a beautiful bookend. But instead, we traded it for a carbon copy, piss-stained, garbage, fake Cody Rhodes WrestleMania 40 matchup. You had Bryan Danielson take the championship off of Swerve for no reason. Honestly, like, this did not have to happen at All In. And again, for those who have a hard time hearing, the issue isn't the match itself. The match could have still happened. But man, we couldn't give Swerve the shoulder rub to just beat Hangman in a beautiful storyline, to cap off and give him a conversation worth having amongst fans to say that he had a worthwhile championship run, even if it was not very long? Of course he can win the championship again, but for his first run, was it that special? Not really. Not really. And he deserved better than that. And you had him lose to Bryan Danielson in a charity match just because Bryan is retiring very soon. We could have still had the match, but it was not necessary to do it the way that it was done. And it's sad. It really is sad. Because to me, all it did was hurt other talent. So now I think me and a lot of other fans, we sit here confused or maybe just like exhausted of like what happens next, like what comes next after this. Reports that Darby Allin might be AEW champ. I'm like, all these things just sound stupid, man. When Swerve didn't get a notable reign, he got one small short storyline that was decent and a phenomenal match at a pay-per-view. But how impactful is that in the long run? He's going to be remembered for what? For giving Bryan Danielson a charity win? This, to me, AEW just backhanded Swerve Strickland. And I hate everything about the way that his reign, I hate everything about the way his reign concluded, and I hate everything about the way that his reign was going. Because it felt like the conversation was never that Swerve is a good champion. Swerve is an important wrestler in AEW. Swerve is the forefront, the leader of AEW. The conversation was never that. The conversation never had the tone that people took Swerve seriously to be someone who was the top guy and the one leading AEW as of the brand itself. He came off just like a guy that's holding the championship for somebody that Tony Khan really wants to hold that championship. And that's a load of crap. And that's a backhand to him. But that being said, I'm not so stupid and arrogant that I can make comments without addressing genuine points that are not in my quote unquote favor. And I want AEW to fail. I just hate some of the things that AEW has done recently. I really do. And seeing Swerve get beat the way that he did, it just felt disgusting. It turned my stomach. But it is worth talking about one last thing. There is possibility for this to be rectified and fixed. Obviously, how you book things can massively change the narrative around a topic like this. So recently, as of today, as I'm recording this, it was reported that AEW, Swerve Strickland, they made an agreement to a new contract, and he will be with AEW till 2028. And that his contract is really, really good. Like one of the biggest contracts in the company. So I will say this, because I've got thoughts, I got opinions, but I don't know if my thoughts and opinions are reasonable. But that's what the point of the comments is for. I'm curious, because we've seen big signings before. Mercedes Moné, Okada, I think those are the most recent. But what have they really done with Mercedes and Okada? You know? I don't think anybody who's, watching AEW or loosely watching AEW can really tell you Okada's doing much of anything. They hoped for Kenny Omega to come back in time for All In to face Okada for the Continental Championship, but that didn't happen. And he ended up participating in, I can't even remember. And honestly, I don't even care. Because it should be notable what your Continental Champion is doing at your biggest show all year. Pathetic. But neither here nor there. Mercedes, and apparently she had a mid-match upon reception. So all I'm saying, and all I'm getting at, is I hope that contract means something. I really, really do. I hope that contract means Swerve will be getting that AEW championship back in some way, shape, or form within the next year. And I hope it means that Swerve will be booked like an absolute beast in a Giga Chad, like he is. Because he deserves to be in that conversation with an MJF, a Will Ospreay. He deserves to be in that conversation. And truthfully, at this point in time anyway, I would love to see Swerve be booked the way that we wanted him to be booked in this AEW championship reign. Because in my mind, in my heart of hearts, they failed him. They absolutely failed Swerve Strickland. And that sucks to say. But that's all I've got to say. So you let me know what you guys think about his contract, about how his reign was handled. But I think they failed him from the very beginning until the very end. Let me know your thoughts and opinions. Peace.